Barbara, as we've discussed in this program before, the Justice Department runs a carefully structured pardon process, an application process. It takes years to get a pardon from the application stage into the White House. But in the Trump White House, it went straight to Jared Kushner.
Yeah, this is really a violation of the rule of law. The Office of Pardon Attorney at the Department of Justice has a process and has protocols for who gets a pardon and who doesn't. The person generally must have completed their sentence, and the passage of 5 years has gone by before someone is typically eligible for a pardon. They need to accept responsibility for their crime, show remorse, and be conducting an otherwise productive life. Those are the factors we look at. When you hear about Mr. Braun here, he couldn't be farther from those criteria. The other thing the Office of Pardon Attorney does is make sure that it isn't being done on a favor basis, that there's a uniformity to the process, that they're looking at the whole landscape across the country in deciding who are worthy candidates for pardons, not just whoever got FaceTime with the president or his son-in-law. And so I worry, as you do, Lawrence, that what has happened in the past is prologue for what can happen in the future. I think the other thing we saw Donald Trump do is grant clemency to a number of people convicted of public corruption crimes in an effort to normalize that sort of behavior. And all of that, I think, is a threat to the rule of law in this country.
Well, he's already, in effect, promising what could be thousands of pardons with the January 6th defendants. This is more of what former Attorney General William Barr told the New York Times for their reporting on this story. Mr. Barr added that he told Trump aides they should at least send over names of those being considered so the department could thoroughly examine their records. While the White House counsel's office tried to do so, the effort fell apart under the crush of pardon requests that poured in during the final weeks of Mr. Trump's before Mr. Trump left office, according to people with direct knowledge of the process. Andrew Weissmann, those pardon requests pouring in clearly would happen beginning in the first week of another Trump presidency.
Absolutely. So remember, Donald Trump has talked about pardoning the people who participated with him on January 6th in terms of attacking the Capitol, which was done at his behest. And to pick up on something Barb said, to really underscore it, this is the end of the rule of law, that there is a pardon power in the Constitution, but it presupposes that the president is going to exercise it with judgment and discretion and follow, as Barb said, this idea of uniformity, of doing this and finding the people who are most meritorious and applying those criteria to everyone. That is not how Donald Trump did give pardons or Jared Kushner gave pardons. Every single defendant who did not cooperate in the Mueller investigation was pardoned. You have Manafort, Flynn, Stone, Bannon, even Alex Vanderswan, people you barely heard of. All of the people who did not cooperate were pardoned. If you did cooperate with law enforcement, the head of the federal government was saying you get a pardon. Just a shocking example of somebody who really did not understand the rule of law. And there's zero reason to think that he is not going to wield that power in a way to undermine everything that this country is supposed to stand for.